Hello everyone. Today we are going to start a second chapter of Flamingo book, The Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. So student, let's see the story that is written by Anis Jung. So today's topic is of Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood by Anis Jung. Actually, Anis Jung, she is an author and she just had written the stories. It's a collection of story, such a story in which the student, the children, they had just lost their childhood somewhere. And here he also took an excerpt of the story that's of sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. So that is the part one of the story that today we will study. And as you can see in the picture, there is a boy who just having a bag of rags, just going to collect rags. So somewhere in his eyes there is a dream that we will study here inside the chapter, into the first part of this chapter. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. So first of all, before starting, let's see the main thing of the story. That's of the theme of the story. That's it: grinding poverty and tradition which condemn these children to a life of exploitation. Especially the author Anis Jung, she took here an example of India's story Simapuri, and she explained here that the grinding poverty, it means the poverty word that she represents here just by the word of grinding poverty. So it means somewhere she used here metaphor too also. And tradition, it means somewhere for the children there is a reason behind their poverty and tradition that condemn these children to live a life of exploitation. Okay, so let's see the story. What's the story? Chapter at a glance. First of all, the author's meeting with Sahab, a rag picker. We all know that Sahab-e-Alam is the main character of the story. He's the protagonist, and he's a rag picker. So one day, while scrounging the garbage, Sahib suddenly he just met to the author Anis Jung. And in the meeting, Anis Jung asked him, "Why do you do this?" He asked him. When he asked him that, "Why do you do this?" Sahib replied that, "I had nothing else to do." And Anis Jung asked, "Why don't you go to school? There is no school nearby." So all of these conversations somewhere explained here his condition of poverty. Though he is interested to go to school, but the reason is there is no school nearby his village area. Okay, so that also Anis Jung explained his rag picker's life. Actually, the rag picker's life is poor and miserable. Inside the story, the first part, Anis Jung explained about the slum areas of Simapuri. Actually, the Simapuri dwellers, they were the refugee. In 1971, they just migrated from Bangladesh, Dhaka to Simapuri. And Simapuri, this place is located at the periphery of Delhi, but somewhere it's a miles away. Metaphorically, it means what? It means for the part of development, though it is located just beside the capital of India, but for the part of development there is no any development. So the writer has just mentioned here their life is very poor and very miserable. So we can understand by the theme, as the writer explained here, the grinding poverty and tradition that condemns this life to live a life in exploitation. The writer also mentioned here the perpetual state of poverty, because in Simapuri there are living 10,000, more than 10,000 rag pickers, and their condition, their state is very perpetual state of poverty, because in Simapuri there is only one means of surviving. What is survival in Simapuri? Means rag picking. There is no any other chance of survival, because there is no any such type of factories, workshops, and such type of opportunities as they are having here to work in that field. No. So survival in Simapuri means rag picking. So writer also mentioned here a story from Udupi. Udupi is a place. The writer here just mentioned a story from Udupi. Actually, the concept of this story is here. Inside the story, there was a child of a priest who usually prayed before the goddess for having a pair of shoes. But after 30 years, the child's dream will fulfill. But in real life here in Simapuri place, the rag picker's life, it's not going to be fulfilled. It's not going to be changed. Though they are all having a dream, but they are not going to fulfill their dreams after 30 years. So somewhere there is a contrast inside the life of Simapuri villagers, sorry, Simapuri dwellers, and also inside the life of Udupi person. Okay, so that is the importance of story of Udupi. So Rakpickers colony, Simapuri. The Rakpickers colony is here, Simapuri. Simapuri is a place that is located nearby at the periphery of Delhi, but yet miles away metaphorically. As I explained you that the Simapuri place, though it's located nearby the place of Delhi, but for the part of development, there is no anyone. Because all the here, Rakpickers, we all know that they are here refugee. So for the identification, they have only ration cards, because the politicians, they just mentioned their name into the list of voter list to take the votes from them. So they are not providing them the facilities, the opportunities for education, for their well-being, for their nourishment, and so on. So somewhere they are deprived of all the facilities. Rakpicking means of survival. It means that if we are to live in Simapuri, we are to totally depend on rakpicking. And here the life of Sahib, what? At last Sahib Alam, he just took a job at a tea stall, but he was not looking happy. Because when he was just collecting the rags, he had some dreams. Inside his eyes there was a lightness. But he was the owner of his own desires, his own master. But right now, as he was working at a tea stall, he is no longer a master of his own self. So somewhere this chapter explains the condition of a particular child, Sahib Alam. Sahib Alam, the name of this child is somewhere an irony in his life, because we all know that Sahib Alam, it's the meaning of the life. It's the meaning of the word is here Lord of the universe. But actually this child became not the master of his own desire, his own self. Somewhere it's a criticize, it's a comment on his own life. So let's see the student, the question answer part. First of all, the question number 1 is here. Who is Sahib? What does his name imply? Explain the irony his name. Sahib, actually Sahib is a rag picker and he came from Bangladesh, Dhaka. He is a poverty-stricken, homeless refugee. He rummes, it means collects garbage dumps with the hope of finding something of value, because he had a dream. Every day, the writer explained them the morning birds. All the rag pickers, he just explained them the morning birds, and they were just coming outside from their houses to collect of that garbage, just having a hope that sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage, or a 10 rupee note, or a gold coin. So they have somewhere just such type of dream. So they were just searching garbage dumps with the hope of finding something of valuable. Has a name of Sahib Alam, means Lord of the Universe. But actually we all know that somewhere this name is meaningless, because the child doesn't know about the real meaning of his own name. His name is a total contrast in his own living conditions. So this is the complete answer of this question. See, the next one is here. Why did Sahib's parents leave Dhaka and migrate to India? They were actually, we all know that the Dhaka at the time of 1971, when they were just came, just extreme floods, repeated floods swept away their fields and homes and leaving them on the verge of starvation. They were, as they had just lost their homes, they were just conditioned at the verge of starvation. So that's why they decided to go to the city areas, and they just reached to nearby the place of Delhi, Simapuri, and there they just pitched their tents, come to India for better living conditions, livelihood and opportunities. They just found this place a suitable place and just collecting here garbage, because survival in Simapuri means rag picking. So see the next one here. What does the reference to the chappals in Lost Spring tell us about the economic conditions of the rag pickers? We all know about the episode of chappals, as when Anis Jung asked the group of children, group of rag pickers, why don't you wear chappals? They just gave them their excuses. No money to buy chappals. One of them asked that they have no money to buy chappals. They were poor and impoverished. One person explained that there is a tradition behind them. They were engaged as rag pickers, exploited, have no work to do, no house to live, and so on. And even also they are unhygienic conditions of the slum dwellers. So they were also negligence and apathy to the affluent people in society. So all of these reasons here explaining about the economic condition of the rag pickers. Okay. Simapuri is a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it, metaphorically explained. So very important question here, because we all know that Simapuri, though is located at the periphery of Delhi, but yet miles away. Why? Because the dwelling place of 10,000 rag pickers here. And for the part of development, there is no any part of development. People live in abject poverty in small structures of mud with roofs of tin and tarpaulin. Because the slum area, the houses, that is totally made up of mud. There is no any buildings, no any complete house. They were just living in the slum areas. No sewage system, no drainage system or the running water system in this locality. They're totally different from Delhi in every aspect. So that's why the writer mentioned here this line. Okay. So the next one is here. What did garbage mean to the children of Simapuri and to their parents? Actually, for the parents and for the children, garbage has a different meaning. Because for the children, it is a wrapped in wonder. They just expect to get a coin, and also it gives them hope of finding more. But for the elders, it's a means of survival. So somewhere it has a different meaning for both of them. Let's see the one. What job did Sahib take up, and was he happy at last? At last, we all know that inside the story, Sahib took a job at a tea stall. But whether he was happy? No, he was not happy. He had become a servant, and no longer he has to work a long working hours. He was not his own master. He was burdened with responsibilities. He has no time to roam with his friends. At last, he has to carry the heavy canister. Heavy canister, though the canister was not heavier. No, actually, the burdensome, the responsibility that belonged to that canister, that was just saying it too heavier, because the bag that he used to carry on his shoulder, that was his, and the canister, that was his honor. It means he lost his freedom, his masterness on his own desires. So in such a way the story ends up, and this is time for question for practice. Let's see here the question number 1. According to the author, what was the garbage for the parents? Actually here, what was the garbage has the meaning for the parents. It's a means of entertainment, means of joy, means of sorrow, means of survival. Actually, it's a means of survival for them. Why did Sahabi Alam not go to school? Because he was not interested. He had no money to pay fee. No school is nearby. Wanted to earn money. The actual answer is that no school is nearby. Then see the next one is there. One explanation which the author gets about children choosing to remain barefoot is that they have no money. Their tradition is there, no matching pairs, like to wear only chappals. So actual answer is there, their tradition is there. What forced Sahib to be a rag picker? Hard work, destiny, people around him, acute poverty. Actually the right answer is there, acute poverty. So this is time for assignment. See, there is a questions that you have to solve. Question number 1 is there. How do you come to know that Sahib was interested in going to school? Okay. See the next one is there. Garbage to them is a gold. How do rag pickers of Simapuri survive? Last one is there. What changes do you find in Sahib's life when he stops rag picking and starts working at a tea stall? So student, I hope that you understood this module, and see you soon in the next module of this chapter. Thanks for watching.